Take frame on. Welcome to the Rob and Mike Show. This is Rob.
That's Mike.
And thank you so much for tuning in to the premiere episode of Rob and Mike.
Or we can be fancy and say inaugural.
We could do it's the inaugural.
We're fancy.
We are
really.
Fancy.
But thank you. Cheers.
Thank you for tuning in. So we have been thinking about doing a project together for years. We've been doing it. So last year we kind of had this idea of like, hey, let's do something. You know, a lot of obviously it's COVID, and Rob and I. So you know, we are not wearing masks when we are in the same place. We actually spend a lot of time around each other. So we are
within each other.
We have already germed each other so much that we are conscious that each other is not. We're conscious of each other's health, but we are expecting that neither one of us is going to kill the other.
Yes, and for the fact that also, if you not know, this is my best friend in the world. This is why part of the reason I want to do it with him. We are going on this year of 30 years of knowing each other, and we've cussed and discussed so much of our lives, and we figured, why not share that with the world and just talk about everything that's going on, from pop culture to politics to movies to sports to whatever might be on our mind. Also, if you guys have ideas, eventually as we keep growing and moving, to please, when we get our email, our social medias up, let us know what you want to hear or what you want to talk about. Top 10s, whatever works for you. Yes, we like to talk, but I talk to this man all day long on a regular basis. We like to hear what our audience wants to hear about.
We really do. And if you guys are local, you know, everybody, we are here in Everett, Washington, right outside of Seattle, and we're going to have people on the show to talk about things that are important to them, to highlight things that are going on in their lives. So a lot of stuff that'll be going on throughout the show and throughout, you know, as we grow again. You know, location changes and a lot of different things that we're excited to bring to you guys. And mostly just our opinions. And as far as our opinions go, I want you guys to understand we have no expertise in anything.
No.
This is all opinion. This is what these are called editorial pieces, I think.
Editorial pieces.
There's no actual fact or news involved. I will say this. We are going to try really, really hard to never, ever lie to our audience. And if we ever do, if you guys are like, hey, that's not true, trust me, it's not because I was trying to mislead you. It's probably just because we didn't do our proper research. Yeah. And if we didn't, please let us know that we didn't do our proper research, because we fact
checked us. Please fact check us.
Please fact check me, because I want to learn as much as I want to express myself. I want to learn things as well. So please feel free to fact check us, email us. And actually, you know what? We do have an email now.
We do.
It is robandmike@gmail.com. It's right here, somewhere in there.
Yeah. And
it's Rob N, the letter N, Mike @gmail.com. So definitely email us. We're looking forward to hearing from everyone. We really do want to bring content to you and subject matter to you that you're interested in seeing. Today, it's Martin Luther King Day.
It is Martin Luther King Day.
We're filming this on MLK Day. To Martin, and I saw this really neat thing that I think you posted it, and it was from his daughter.
Yes, who I do follow on social media. So.
Right, and if you don't know this, you can. Martin Luther King's daughter is actually is she on Instagram? I think she's on a few different Twitter.
Twitter is where I got it from.
So she is on Twitter, and you can follow her at Twitter, and there's her Twitter handle right there or there. She's definitely worth following. But you posted this earlier, and it was Martin Luther King's daughter's thing. You know, making the statement that given obviously the climate that we have today, the last year that we went through, the BLM movements, you know, everything that's happening with the Capitol and all of that. But she made a really point that, like, you know, as much as we are kind of heralding him today, and as much as you see, you know, you're going through your Facebook posts and everybody's like, this quote and that
and
quote,
be progressive,
he said this, and let's be progressive. Yeah. That Martin Luther King wouldn't have been a very, very popular figure right now.
No, he would have been hated. He would have been considered a traitor. He would have been, considered an anarchist. He in this world, he wouldn't have been liked. He was not liked in the world that he was in.
Right.
He was considered
extremely polarizing figure.
Yeah. Was hated by most of America. And well, we all know what happened. Yeah. And the one thing I don't like about posts about MLK Day are people who write the post that he died for us. No, he did not die for us. He was killed by people in white America. I'm not grouping all of white America, but there was a large group of people in
there
the
were
time
some people that were not fond of what he had to say
because of interracial equality. Everyone. And unlike another famous leader, which we'll talk on another day, he was wanting black and white and Asian and Hispanic and Latinx, and if I've missed one of the groups,
any of the protected groups that are currently protected.
I apologize, and that really pissed off a lot of people because they wanted to keep segregation. They wanted to keep people where your group was with your group and their group was with their group.
And I think it's really it's odd because you know, when you look at the contrast between, you know, the movement of the 60s, you know, we feel a lot like we're living through the 60s again right now. But I think when you contrast the 60s against today, that idea that, you know, this is still going on, and not only is it still going on, but it's going on in almost a more nefarious fashion now because it's not out front, right? It's not like it's almost so out front now that it's more hidden. Does that make sense? Right. It's blatant.
Yes.
Right. I think that's the thing. It's not. I think that's where that came from. Is like you go through this whole period, like, you know, the 70s and 80s, where, you know, you've got, you know, the Huxtables came out during that period. You know,
and in the 90s you got Fresh Prince, Living Single, a lot more.
All of that, like, sort of black-centric TV that really, I think, kind of lulled the entire country into, we're okay. We have this. We're fine now.
Everyone loves Urkel.
It's fine. You want to go, yeah, Urkel's my man, and you can go out and you can date Theo, and that's going to be great, and, you know. And then we get here, and all of a sudden, you know, we have a black president, and it was we had this black president, and that was just in a lot of people's minds, that was just straw. The straw's broken. Camel's dead. The camel's dead on the ground now.
We like them, but we don't want them to be in charge of us, is what I think.
Or in charge, basically. You know, I saw, this is, you know, I don't really honestly remember her name, and I will try to look it up if I can. But I was watching one of the major news networks, the one that begins with an M and ends with a C. And on this news network, right, there was this really, really great commentator, and the commentator said, you know, she said that one of the issues that is coming forward right now isn't that people are not being represented as far as, like, visually, right? Like, so you have all of these you know, television programs, movies, things that are injecting black voices, black imagery, black actors, and
minorities in general.
Minorities in general, right? We're going across. You're seeing a lot more LGBTQ, and you see that a lot more so often now. But what we don't see is we need to see more black people guiding that. So more black people in producer roles, more black people in editor roles, more black people who are in control of the content as opposed to being part of the content.
Oh, and here's something interesting to speak of that. With a lot of firings that happened in major sports this year, especially in the No Fun League, that African Americans make up 70% of players.
70%. 70%. I saw that too. I'm not sure this fan on. I'm sorry. You keep talking. I'm not sure the fan.
Do you know how many coaches in the NFL who are black? Not general managers, not owners. Coaches in the NFL.
Coaches in the NFL, I am going to make the guess that there are out of 34 teams now?
30 or 32, I can't remember.
30 plus teams. So I'm going to go and I'm going to say that there are 4 black head coaches. 2. 70% of the players?
Yes, 70% of the players.
2 of the coaches.
2 of the coaches.
You have lots of minority representation. You know, if you look and you go, man, the NFL, that is a lot of African American representation right here.
Yes.
Which, there's lots of black and minority actors out there that are doing super well. But again, they're not writing the scripts. They're not directing the shows. They're not producing. I mean, Regina King killing everything that she touches. Which like, not killing in a bad way, but killing it like killing it.
By the way, we need to watch because I want to review it. One Night in Miami. It's on one of those streaming channels.
I would love that.
I don't know if we are allowed to say the streaming channel, so it's on one of those streaming channels.
We won't say that, but we will say this. We are both huge fans of Regina King. Regina, you go girl. You're doing a fantastic job.
Since 227.
Everything you're touching is amazing. We love you. And again, it's hard because that idea that we are represented but we are not represented is, I think, one of the things that people have a hard time wrapping their heads around, because they think to themselves, oh my god, I see black faces on TV all the time, but the content that is being put out isn't being driven by people who are minorities. So that understanding that I think the general community needs that can be presented in the artwork that they're putting out there.
Well, and that is where I do put sports is one of the most interesting because, and not to sound stereotypical, in 2 of the 4 major sports, it is predominantly African American men, and that is the NBA and the NFL.
Right.
And I mentioned NFL. That's just coaches. I could go on a tirade about general managers and all of that, but that'll take me forever.
Right.
NBA is a little bit better because you do have a decent amount of African American coaches. It's still actually not that large of a number. I believe to this day, right now, Michael Jordan is still the only owner of an NBA team.
An owner, yeah. And I don't think and there's no black owners in the NFL. I think black, yeah. And I mean, there are some. You know, don't get me wrong. You've got some black ownership in some sports teams as far as like partial ownership. Or, you've got Cube with his league,
and what they call like the Miami Dolphins has like 90,654 minority owners, and that's
right.
Like Jennifer Lopez, and like Beyonce is a minority owner of the Houston Rockets. Jay-Z used to be the Brooklyn Nets. I don't know if he is anymore because he went into. I think he started his own sports agency, so that disqualified him from being. But that's part. And what part minority means, like they went and dropped $5 million. Was like I can say to someone that I have stake in this team.
Right. It's almost like I'm saying like, well, you know. I own, you know, I don't personally, but you know, I own a Microsoft stock or something, or I bought 10 shares of Microsoft, so technically speaking, I own it.
I'm a stock owner of Google.
I own this, yeah.
You know,
which is funny. That's one of so ownership. And I think like this is ownership is a big thing, and having and being a part of that sort of the infrastructure of something is a big thing. You can't really say that someone is a part of something if they don't have any stake in the ownership of it. You know, we push that in so many different industries. We push that with our kids, and like own your behavior, own your mistakes, own up. Yeah, I mean ownership is a huge thing. Being involved in the infrastructure of something is a very, very important part of being a part of a community or being part of an industry. And you just don't have the representation, I think, that people do. And so here we are, 2021 on Martin Luther King Day, and and here's the thing, you guess you could say that the BLM movement was was successful in that we brought that awareness back. Yeah, we revived the awareness that kind of went away. And then also obviously the elections were all successful. Whether you accepted them or not, they
that's on you.
That's your issue, not mine, society. You could say that was successful, but the problem with that being successful is that now we found ourselves having regressed 40 years only to come back up 10 to 15 years. So we go from Martin Luther King being assassinated, and then we jump forward maybe to like the 70s, where now we're back to black people are on TV, and we're going to go ahead and make sure that it's okay for them to buy cars from dealerships and buy homes in the neighborhoods if they want to, which is of course still something that hasn't gone away, but we haven't yet built that infrastructure, and that's the process I think that we're starting right now. I think the BLM has started us back into the process of building back minority interest in the country.
Well, and here's the thing is, what's fascinating and sad to me is we have parents. Mm-hmm. We're the age where our parents went through that first wave of, it wasn't called Black Lives Matters at the time, but that first push of King and Malcolm and Huey. And here we are, and our parents, I know at least my mom has talked about, I can't believe that I have to relive, that I feel like living everything that we fought for 40-something years later.
It's very much a deja vu. It's a rewind, and that's it. I think that's the hardest part for I think, people who went through that generation and already experienced this, and now they're saying, why are we rewinding this? And that's a very, very real issue for them, and it should be, and it's an issue for all of us, because now we're back to this again, and so now we're at this point where we're like, how do we get to
past square one?
Yeah, how do we get to the point where can we get around the board without getting sent back to getting sent back to go, or getting sent to jail or whatever? How do we do all of that? And it's the people that are working on that, becoming a part of our infrastructure, the people that are working on that becoming a part of what we do regularly and what we do daily, as opposed to, 4 years are up, let's go start paying attention to those black people again, because we need them to vote for us again.
Yeah.
And I get and it's really weird, because I get the argument, because you'll see a lot of of our our Republican friends, and I have some Republican friends. That's not this way, but you'll see that idea from them, that this has been resolved.
Yes.
And not only has this been resolved, but you're making a lot of this. And then we have something like the storming of the Capitol that happens, right? And here's the funny part for me with the storming of the Capitol. It wasn't, and I've seen pundits, kind of bounce around this, and some people have said it point blank, but I will personally say it point blank. My problem with the storming of the Capitol was the amount of ownership that was shown by the people who stormed the Capitol. And that is really, really telling as far as the country goes, because they legit walked in there like, excuse me, I pay taxes, this is my joint right here. I'm gonna sit me in this chair.
Walked out with a podium.
Like, legit. Did you really, really at some point in time think that just rolling in, I'm on the dais here, there's actually we pay taxes, this is my chair, fool. No, it is not.
No. And
you pay taxes, and that's part of being a citizen of the United States. Like, this whole idea that because I give this money, they require me to give them. Do you own the church? Because I bet you tithe there. Does tithing make you own your church?
No.
I don't think it does.
No. But
Does paying your water bill mean you own the lake that the water's being pulled from? Probably not. Like, there might be an issue with that.
yeah, but and then what's scary though is there's probably some who actually do feel that
At
way.
least feel that way, right?
Yeah,
Not like it's not even that whether they do or they don't, they feel that way, right?
And we talked about ownership, and that's not even. That now goes from ownership to that lovely word that we love to use, entitlement.
It's my right.
Yes.
I'm entitled to it.
No.
My this and this and this. If this idea that you can take ownership of the country, right? You can say, you know what? This is mine's. My great-great-grandfather came over here on a boat from Norway, and he made his way through this, and he worked his way as a bricklayer until he had 50 cents to put together a mule, and then he went and took his mule out to Kansas, and he found 10 acres of land because he was entitled to it. Black people couldn't do that. We couldn't just take a mule and call it. But I took this mule and I went out in the woods, and my grandfather did this, and my great-great and he did this, and he did this, and now look at us, we're prosperous, and that's what your people need to do. Well, during all that time that your grandfather was doing that,
They were allowed to.
they were allowed to, so there's that.
And let's not go to the fact that most of those people stole land from people that it wasn't
Right,
theirs,
you really did. But the thing is that you can own that part, right? You can own the part where your family worked super, super hard, and they did this and they did this. But when you ask them to own slavery, well, that wasn't me.
Or own genocide.
That was not me. I don't know why you people still have an issue with that. That wasn't me. That was my great-grandfather. Okay, you cannot own your great-grandfather's accomplishments without owning
And
acknowledging what got him there, what he did that was not good. That were those things that were against.
They're bad.
They're bad. There's
They're
bad
bad.
things that were done.
They're bad.
So you don't get to take the good and then say that you have no responsibility for the bad. It's the same thing with what's going on today. You don't get to say, well, we did this, but we had to commit these atrocities in order to make it happen. You don't get to wash away the atrocities. That's just how it works. It's not how it goes. So that's where we are, and we're moving forward from that, and we've got people who are in office right now who are hopefully going to move the country in a different direction, and we're going to keep growing as a society, and you and I are going to keep talking crap about it regardless of what happens, and
Whether we're on
if we're right or wrong, we don't really need to this is an editorial opinion piece, and so
And here's the funny thing is, we're going to talk about it whether we're on here or whether we're just...
whether I'm talking into a camera or whether I'm just talking across a campfire, I'm still going to have the exact same thing to say. So that's just going to be big, so that big. We've got a lot of other big things that are going on, but that's kind of my mini crux on.
Yeah, we had a little rant today. We weren't sure where we were going to go with it today.
Really didn't. We kind of started off today just sort of going I'm just going to freewheel this and see what happens.
We're going to wing it. There will be more structure eventually.
Eventually, show one. We're feeling it out. We're going to feel it out. We're going to go with it and I think next week though. So this is really great things that are coming up. So we are now granted. So things that happened. Today was Martin Luther King Day. It's Monday. So all of you know that there's 2 days until the inauguration. There's 2 days until Trump does his thing out. So we're probably going to talk a little bit about that next week, just to be okay, well that happened.
That happened. As we mentioned, from our first review up, because I think that's very significant with especially us starting our show on Martin Luther King Day and a movie about Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali and Jim Brown.
There's so much good stuff coming out. So much good stuff. And so there'll be a lot of music reviews, movie reviews. We're going to talk about...
Eventually, when the Super Bowl happens, we'll talk about the next day.
Sports and all of that. And
just random.
And whether or not that we all need to... we're going to find out in a couple of weeks whether or not we all actually need to just shut up and bow down to Tom Brady. Because if he wins the Super Bowl with the Bucks, we all just need to shut up. That's it. That's it. He is I think that's my excited. I'm excited about the opportunity to talk about that because if Tom Brady does win the Super Bowl,
I don't want to talk about it. I know we will talk about it.
I know you've got your Brady haters, and that's fine. I'm not here's the thing: neither a Brady hater or a Brady lover. But I'm going to say this right now: do I care for the guy? Not necessarily, but. The only reason that I don't care for him is I think he's mean because he watching games and seeing Tom Brady yell at people on the sidelines. I have nothing against Tom Brady other than I just think it's kind of rude to yell at your teammates on the sideline. That's me. That's me. I just don't like it. But again, if he does win, I'm going to shut up, and we are going to shut up, and we're just going to say we'll
Wayne's World it. We'll.
I told a friend of mine though. I said, you know what? Here's what I think is going to happen. I think that the Bucs are going to win the Super Bowl, and I think right at the end of the Super Bowl, instead of saying I'm going to Disneyland, Tom Brady's going to tear off his alien mask, and there's going to be this lizard person inside, and he's going to be and he's just going to announce the invasion, and now we come for you.
So he's going to go V on it?
Yes, it's just going to be a V thing. He's going to be and by the way, touchdown pass.
Hopefully most of you, our viewers, because they're going to be friends of ours, so that means our age, will understand that V reference. And if you get younger people eventually, just ask your parents.
And if you didn't see the new one, that's the difference. Did you see the old one back when it was on TV, or did you see the new one when it was on TV? Who's your V thing? What is it? What century did you watch V in? That's kind of neat. V was because that show was on in 2 different centuries.
We're old.
It was older and seasoned like wood.
So let's go with wine.
Okay, well, the wine's all right, fine.
Wine, but
wine.
I think that's enough babble.
That's it. Yeah, we're done babbling for today. Again, you guys email us, please, and let us know what you'd like to see, or if you're interested in coming and sitting on the couch with us and just talking about life.
Once it's safe, too.
Once it's safe, yes. Once we're COVID or vaccinated. That's another thing. Email us if you guys want to talk about vaccines. We should probably talk about vaccines in one of these shows. We will. We're going to talk about vaccines and what we think about them. But in general, other than that, you guys email us, Rob and Mike, that's with an N, @gmail.com.